Alright, so today we are going to get started with using variables, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project in here. So if you don't have your Project Explorer visible, then what you need to do is go to Window, Show, Project Explorer. Okay, mine is already showing, so I'm not going to do that, but that's how you get to this if it's not showing already. Okay, then you can right click in here and make a new. If yours has Java project there, then choose Java project. If it doesn't, then you got to go project. Okay, and then at the top of yours it should say Java project, so you just want to double click Java project. Okay, if you selected Java project at the first, point, then you'll already see this new Java project. And we're going to call this project using user input. All right, so we're going to be getting input from the user and changing our programs as the user inputs things. All right, so once you have using user input, you're going to click finish for making a new project. And this might show that I have a class in here already. I'm not sure because I did this already. Nope, it's not. Okay, good. All right, so in using user input, we're going to make a new class. All right, so let me just do that again because some of you may not have been looking. Okay, using user input, I'm making sure I'm in there, and then I'm making sure I'm in the SRC folder, and I'm going to go new class. And I'm going to call this class Intro to Variables. I want that class, so make sure you type that in to the name. I want that class to have a main method because I want to run it. Okay? And then I'm going to click Finish. Alright. So you guys should all have something that looks like that for you. Alright? We're going to basically go through some notes here, and I'm just going to type the notes out as I go. Alright? So we're going to start off with saying that variables, and you guys need to decide, are you a good typer or is this something that you would rather write down? Okay, whichever works for you works for me. Okay, variables are used to store information. Okay, they have a type, they have an identifier, which is their name, and they have a value. The main types of variables are, the first one is int. Okay, and ints are used to store whole numbers. Okay, so when we talk about an example of the type of thing that would be an int, we're talking about numbers like 21, 500, 0, and they have like a range of values that they can be, but we'll talk about that on another day. Okay, so the next main type that we have is called a double. All right, and there's a reason behind why it's called double, but we're not too worried about that right now. But doubles are for decimals. Okay, they store decimal numbers. You could think about them as fractions as well, but they're always going to be represented as a decimal on the computer. Okay, so for example, 3.14. Okay, 0.00009. Okay, those are decimal numbers that we could put inside of a double. Okay, the next main type is a Boolean. All right, so it seems like kind of a weird name. but it's named after a mathematician named George Boole, and he did a lot of stuff with logic, and so they named these variables after him. Okay, Booleans can either be true or false. They cannot have any other value. Okay, so the only example I can give you for that is true or false. All right. A char is short for character. Okay, so this is any single character. All right, and here's where you kind of need to pay attention. These other ones seem like pretty straightforward. Okay, integer, decimal, true or false. Okay, when we want to store a character, it has to go in between single quotes, all right, or apostrophes. Okay, so for example, the letter D would look like that, or the character 4 would look like that. So this is not the number 4, it's the character 4. All right? And then the last one that we're going to look at today is string. And string with a capital S, all right, is for a string of characters. And the other way to think about that is that it's just any text. All right? And at this point, I'm going to minimize this so that we can get this example in here. All right. So when we do a string of characters, we use quotes to show that we're going to be putting a bunch of characters together. Okay, so this can be whatever we want. Okay, we can have punctuation marks in there. We can have stuff that doesn't make sense in there. Okay, as long as it starts with a quote and ends with a quote, then it's a string. So pretty much anything you can type. So those are the 5 main types of variables. Okay, to use a variable, it must be declared. All right. And a variable is declared with its type and its identifier. So for example, we could do something like int number of students. All right. So the pattern, when we want to declare a variable, the pattern is type space identifier semicolon done. All right, so we're saying number of students is going to be an int variable, and that makes sense because we would expect that the number of students would be a whole number. Okay. What type of variable would we use to keep track of the name of our school? So out of these 5, which type would I use to keep track of the name of our school? Yeah, a string. Good. Okay, so if I wanted to declare a variable for that, then I would go string, because that's the type, and then the identifier is going to be name of school. Okay. We can assign a value to a variable using the equal sign. All right. So for example, in this class, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 20, 34 students. So number of students is assigned the value 34. semicolon. All right. So the pattern there, identifier equals value. Okay, so what I want you to try to do right now is assign name of school Rufus King. Okay, try to assign name of school Rufus King. This is assigning number of students, the value 34. Yeah. I don't know. All right, so what you should have done is name of school equals quotes Rufus King. All right, and then it should automatically put the quotes in there for you. Okay, and then you just put a semicolon at the end. So if you forgot the quotation marks there, it wouldn't work. Okay, because the computer doesn't recognize that this is a string unless we use the quotation marks. All right, so you can also declare and assign a value in one line. So for example there, you might do something like Boolean likes dogs. Right? So that's declaring a variable that's of type Boolean called likes dogs, and then set it equal to some value. So for me, that's true. All right. So then you guys get kind of the pattern there, hopefully. Type, identifier, assigned to some value, and then a semicolon. Okay. Another example of that, try to create a variable of an appropriate type that would hold the value of pi. Okay, the math value of pi. So you guys are going to try to do that now. Okay, so what type of variable should the value pi be saved in? A double, good, because it's going to be a decimal number. Okay, so we're going to say double, and then we're going to give it a name, pi, and then we're going to give it a value, and 3.14 is good enough for now. All right. So that's how we declare variables, that's how we assign variables. Okay, there are some things that you cannot do with variables, so let's just talk about that. You cannot duplicate the name of a variable, or the identifier. Okay. So for example, I couldn't go like this. Double number of students. All right. So what that does, when I look at what that error is, it says duplicate local variable number of students. So for right now, don't worry about the word local here, just read duplicate variable. Okay? So I can't say I want I want a variable that's a different type but of the same name that I used before, because computers are not smart enough to figure out that you mean number of students the double or number of students the int. Okay, so we can't have any ambiguity in our programming. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out, and then I'm just going to say here, again, cannot duplicate variable names. Okay. Another thing that you can't do is do something like likes dogs equals, in quotes, false. Okay. So we said that likes dogs could be either true or false, right? Up here we said likes dogs equals true. Down here we're saying likes dogs equals false. But the problem here is that we have what's called a type mismatch. Okay? So if I do this again, type mismatch, and it's saying false is a string because you put it in quotes. I can't assign a string to something that's expecting a Boolean. Okay? So this is what we call, again, a type mismatch. Okay, I'm going to comment that out, and I'm just going to put another little comment on the bottom here. The type on the left of equals has to match the type on the right. All right. So here's kind of a weird one. The next one here, we're going to say number of students equals pi. Okay, so it's kind of a weird thing to even think about, like when you think about what that means. But what's the problem there? Yeah. Okay, so we can actually get away with that, but the problem, yeah, there are two different types of variables, right? So we're saying here, take this integer number of students, or take this int number of students, and assign it the value of this double. Okay, so again, the same problem that we had a second ago, and that is that this is another type mismatch. Okay, so we can't do number of students equals pi. However, we can do this. All right, so this is kind of a weird thing too, but basically what this does is says, oh, okay, well, number of students is 21. Pi is a double, so I'll just say number of students is 21.0. Okay, so there's a term for it, but it's escaping me right now. It promotes number of students, basically. It says, okay, number of students is only an integer. It only holds whole numbers. This thing over here can hold decimals, so we'll just promote this to a decimal. We'll say it's 21.0. Okay? So you're actually seeing two different things there. First thing you're seeing is that we can assign an int to a double. All right? And the other thing that you're seeing there is that we can assign a variable the value of a different variable. So in other words, we can say pi should get the value, pi is assigned the value of whatever value number of students is. So in this case, that's 21. So pi is equal to 21. All right, and I'm going to do one more example like that. So we're going to say, make another string called middle school. All right, so this was my middle school. And then we're going to assign name of school equal to middle school. Okay. So, going back up here to the top, all right, we have this, all of our notes here. All right, we declared name of school to be a string here. Then we assigned Rufus King to the variable name of school. So right now, name of school is Rufus King. Then right here, we're declaring a different string called middle school, and its value is Hartford Ave. Now we're saying name of school should be assigned the value middle school. Okay? So what is the value of name of school? Hartford Ave. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to print some of these things out. Okay? So we're going to print out, we're going to do system.out.println. And we're going to print out name of school. Okay, so if I run this, let me just do this real quick. Let me move this up a little bit. So if I run this now, this doesn't print name of school, it prints the value of name of school. So it prints Hartford Ave. You guys have any questions about that? Okay, and so just to kind of check this, we're going to go system.out.println pi. Again, system.out.println likes dogs. And then system.out.println number of students. Okay, and when I run that, again, it prints out Hartford Ave for name of school. Then on the next line, it prints out pi, which in this case is 34.0. Okay, and so let's look back and see why that happened. So here I am where I start declaring variables. Here's number of students as an int. Number of students has the value 34. I'll go back down there. Then I'm declaring the double pi equal to 3.14. And later on, I'm saying pi is reassigned the value number of students. Well, number of students was 34. So now pi gets that 34, but because it's a double, it becomes 34.0. And then when I print pi out, it prints 34.0. So it loses the value 3.14 when I assign it a different value. Okay? And then I'm printing out likes dogs. That's true. Hopefully that makes sense. Number of students is 34. Okay? So we have 5 main types of variables: int, double, boolean, char, and string. And there's other variables that we can do stuff with. All right? Back over at the website here, okay? We talked about primitive types. We talked a little bit about object types, but we talked more specifically about what a string is. Talked about declaring variables. Here are the rules for naming variables, okay? So we pretty much talked about this. They're really the same as naming methods, okay? It's just they're a different thing. They should start with a lowercase letter. All of the variables that we did today, or we created today, started with lowercase letters. They can't start with a number, okay? They cannot contain spaces or punctuation marks except for the underscore character. We use camel casing like we're kind of used to at this point, and then they can't be a reserved word. So for example, you can't create an int and call it int, all right? You can't create an int and call it class. You can't create a string and call it public, okay? Because those int, class, and public are all reserved words. They mean something to the language. They're special, all right?